Hello everyone and welcome back again to Feral Keyline Designs YouTube channel. The days of my editing has been growing longer and longer. I must say that I'm actually enjoying every minute of it. For today's project, I will be sharing to you guys how I made the underbust cord set from my Lolita collection called BeaLiana. On the side note, this project is a lot easier and more simpler to make. It only took me a few hours to work on this project, which is really fun. So now, let's begin the project. The first few steps in this project is exactly as what we did in the JSK project. For a more elaborated explanation, I will be putting the link of the JSK project in the description box below. Simply sew all the darker blue panel patterns cuts to create a long continuous rectangle. This skirt has 3-layer cut pattern, just like what we did in the JSK project. The first layer is 15 inches in light blue cloth. The second layer is darker blue cloth, which is 5 inches in length, and the last layer is also the same light blue cloth, which is also in 5 inches length. The darker blue panel cloth needs at least 4 panels to match the measures of the main blue cloth. The main blue cloth is around 120 inches continuous rectangle with no cut. This is my standard measures for rectangle skirts for my Lolita. After you sew all the darker panel cloths in one continuous panel, run all the connecting seams into the overlock machine to clean all the raw edges. After that, you will then now sew the last layer of main blue cloth into the darker panel cloth. These two are both 5 inches in length. We just need to simply sew them all together to make one full skirt. The last step is to attach the longest light blue panel cloth into the darker panel cloth to finish off the skirt. You will need to run the inside seam cut parts of this skirt into the overlock machine to finish and to clean all the raw edges of the skirt. After you finish this step, we will then now gather the skirt into the waist measure of my model. Don't forget to leave at least 2 inches non-gathered part on both edges of the panel skirt. This will be our allowance later on when we close the back part of the whole under bust dress. Now, let's make the waist under bust part of this project. Making this part is easy. You will just need to measure your waist and then transfer your measures into the panel cloth. My length for this under bust project is around 6 inches, but you are free to adjust these measures to fit you perfectly. These 6 inches will still be shortened when we finish the bodies of this project. You will also need 1 lining cloth and 1 main cloth for the bodies of this project. Cut the lining cloth and the main blue cloth with the exact same measures, and then sew all the sides of the panel cloth, completely merging the lining and the main cloth as one. After this, you will fold the whole panel cloth into half, and then we will mark the center point of the whole under bust bodies. From the center, we will also be marking ½ an inch on both sides of the panel. This will be the markings where we will start sewing the collar design later on. Now, leave the bodies part and let's move on to the collar design of this project. We will start off with this rectangle panel cloth. This is around 4 inches in length and 14 inches in width. Cut a peak part on each side where the collars will meet in the center of the under bust bodies. I made a mistake in this process, and I can surely say that you might have noticed it. I've forgotten that the main theme of this project is gold, and I ended up doing this project in blue. But don't worry, I changed the color of this bias works in the end of the project. The next step is simple. Sew the gold bias work on one of the pattern cut piece we had earlier. after you finish sewing the gold bias work on one piece, then now top it with another layer of cloth. You will sandwich it by putting the main cloth on top of it, and then we will sew them flat together. Make sure you pay attention in this process. Usually, you won't be able to get this perfectly fine or perfectly clean in the first try. Flip the whole collar panel inside out and then flat stitch all the sides. You will have a fine edges with these gold bias works. Lay the two colors together and make sure that they are even. I realized that the length of the collar is too long for my liking for this project, so I decided to cut few inches away as early as here. I'm also leaving the back part of the collars open, which I somehow regretted after a few steps. I could have just closed it for good as early as here, but I was so concerned how I will fix the gold bias works if I'm going to do the turn it inside out completely. Usually, the bias works messes up if you do the turn it inside out process, and I try to avoid that in this step. I ended up running the raw edges of the panel collar into the overlock machine and then flat stitching them down by half an inch. Our next step is to attach the collar into the main underbust bodies. We will place them in the markings we made earlier. The two peak points should meet in the middle. After you attach the collars, you will then now finish off the raw edges by running it into the overlock machine. Once the raw edges are done, you can then now fold it inside by 1 inch, and then we will flat stitch them from the inside. I wanted the collar design to stand stiff, and so I will need to sew it by 1 inch to achieve that effect. After that, we will also fold the bottom part of the underbust bodies. There is no specific reason for this step, but I wanted the bottom part of the bodies to also be stiff, so I will fold an inch in this process. Now, attach the skirt into the bodies. I'm sewing an half an inch in this process. Once the skirt is finally attached into the bodies, you will then need to run the back raw edges into the overlock machine to finish all the raw sides of the dress. Sew the back panel closed by 3 inches, completely closing all the allowances we just had earlier. After this, you can then now unstitch 10 inches from the top part of the bodies. We will then flat stitch the allowances into their designated sides. You can flat stitch them however you like, but for me, I will be flat stitching them by half an inch to the edge. Now, it's time to finish the skirt part. Just like what we did in the JSK project, I wanted the skirt to have bold and stiff edges, and so I will do the hem of this dress by folding almost 3 inches. I've also sewn and decorated the front bodies with gold buttons. I lost the footage of doing the ribbon back closure, but it is exactly as the same as the JSK project. Finish off the dress by sewing the back cover in place. And I can finally say that the project is done. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video update. I really am in love with this collection. The simplicity and the neat looking design is very unique and very new to me. Don't forget to comment down below and give us a thumbs up. If you have any comments or suggestions of what you wanted to see in our next few updates, then please do leave a comment down below. See you guys really soon, and again, happy sewing everyone!